Welcome to the Heartwork podcast, where we delve into stories, struggles, and triumphs of entrepreneurship, leadership, and personal growth. I'm Dr. Sarah.
And I'm Dr. Marisa. We're here to guide practitioners, entrepreneurs, leaders, and those just navigating the complexities of life on a journey of discovery that explores the dance between passion and strategy, heart and hustle.
With candid conversations, insightful interviews, and plenty of laughs, get ready to uncover how leading with heart can transform your business and life. Let's dive in. Welcome back to another episode of the Heartwork podcast. Today, we have a duo personality coming on, not duo personalities, but duo couple today, Dr. Andy and Kailey Armor. Thank you guys so much for joining us from Whitefish, Montana, y'all.
Yeah, thanks for having us. We are avid listeners and we're very excited to be here.
We are excited to have you. So just to give you guys an idea of who these guys are chiropractors, not only just chiropractors and founders, but now they are entrepreneurs and coaches who are leading with equal parts grit and grace. As the founders of Compass Chiropractic, like I mentioned, in Whitefish, Montana, I literally just got back from there. It's the most beautiful place in literally this country, I believe. And they are also now founders of the Chiro Couples, which we will get into because I know they're going to be really excited to share about that journey as well. They are also building a life and business rooted in connection, impact, and intentional growth. They are known for their ability to navigate the dual callings of marriage and entrepreneurship, helping other chiropractor couples strengthen both their businesses and their relationships. So truly, it goes beyond just adjusting humans all day long. It's about aligning vision, purpose, and partnership so leaders can thrive at work and at home. So, y'all, as we get started today, because I know this has been an evolution, and I've gotten the chance, and Marisa and I have gotten the chance to be able to really see your guys' life evolve, not only just from the owning and running a chiropractic business, but also to be able to take that leadership to expand that business, now want to coach and empower other humans. When you think about just this season that you guys are both in, what's the story behind the journey of leadership for you guys to come from baby chiro owners to building a business to now navigating this whole world of partnership in business and now wanting to coach and lead? Like, that had to take something internally to really allow that to evolve. So if you wouldn't mind sharing that story, that'd be beautiful.
Yeah, but even the way you describe it, the first thought I had was how wild such a short period of time that it has been. You know, we founded and started Compass in 2017, and it just feels like it's been a whirlwind since then. And looking back, you know, you're like, wow, we really did a lot of stuff in just such a short period of time. And I think we don't spend enough time looking back thinking how much that we have accomplished. But I think when we first started our business, we just wanted to have immediate impact in our community. You know, we moved from Iowa, where we were going to school, out to Montana, and we saw an opportunity to bring a fresh look of chiropractic in the area. Most other offices around here were still fairly like old school, is what I'll call it. And so bringing like technology and a fresh vibe into the community was something we were excited about, and really just creating a culture around proactive health, proactive healing. And this is probably a little known fact, but we almost called our business Connected Chiropractic instead of Compass, because we just were really attached to the idea of connection and helping people connect with themselves and with their community, and building sort of that ripple effect that we all talk about in the chiropractic profession, and just not knowing how far reaching your impact can be. So we started our business and it really took off. I think it was only a short year or two before things were really growing at a pace that was, how would you describe it, bigger than we expected. By year 3, we were like, wow, this is, we felt like we were reaching a lot of our goals. We felt ready to start our family, and we became even more rooted in our community once that happened. And then that just even solidified the relationships and the connection we were having. And all the while we were building and forming, these friendships and everything with the people and the businesses in our community, which I think ultimately was how our hearts started tugging on expanding beyond just the reach of our 4 walls. We started really seeing other businesses in a local community that we wanted to see thrive. And we had the financial capacity and the time to start pouring back into them in a way we weren't able to when we first started. And then that was kind of like the little fire, I think, that lit us into, then it just like gets bigger and bigger, further and further reach. You start seeing other like professions and other friendships you have even with our profession, and people sort of start coming to you, I guess, with questions when they start seeing what you're doing, the impact. They start going, hey, like, what are you guys doing over there? And whether we were ready for the next step of sort of leading other people, it sort of fell in our lap, I guess, half intentionally, half not. But I think there's a bit of that, like, people are drawn to seeing what you're doing when it aligns with what they're doing too, or what they want. Is there something you want to add?
No, you nailed it.
Perfect. I want to ask for like, how did you then transfer from the first idea of connection into Compass, which also has such a cool transcendence into you being a compass for other leaders now? So talk me through like what challenged you to change connection to Compass Chiropractic?
Yeah, this is maybe not as glamorous of a story as you were hoping it for it to be, but we loved the idea of connected chiropractic. We just had a really hard time making it a tangible brand. At the time, like, we're in the infancy of your business. You're like, how can we, the looks, it's the aesthetic. You're really thinking about how can we make this something that people in our community recognize, and we were just, for some reason, having a really difficult time branding it. And so that when we came to Compass, it being like a tool that people use to help guide them, like, really all those small piece that you keep in your bag that can really be a make or break in your journey in life when you're needing to find your way. And so when we came to the idea of Compass, especially because where we live, being such an outdoorsy area where people really are actually probably utilizing compasses more than the rest of the world, it seemed like a tangible thing that people could really latch on to. And we get questions all the time about our logo and what it means. And
I really think that one of the big things with it is our perception of what we wanted to create, that the direction was more important than the speed. So being able to understand where you're going, whether it's in your health journey or in life or whatever it is, knowing the right path and the direction was so much more important than how fast we get there. Like, it all starts with a single step. So just knowing that you're like, this is the way that I want to go. Sometimes we need assistance with people pointing us in the right direction, and just understanding, hey, this is the path that I need to follow, and it's a trusted instrument.
Okay, so how fitting, one, but also two, a little throw in, to kind of throw that off. Was there ever a pivotal moment in your life where you're like, okay, I have this path, I have this direction, I'm taking these steps, I'm going in what I believe is the right place for me? Was there a time in your life where everything that you thought you knew was shaken up? And how did that experience, if you've had it, reshape your understanding of yourself and what that path you may have originally designed to be might be looking a little bit different, or might have some extra twists and turns?
okay, wait. I think we should both say our answer at the same time. Just shout out what you're going to say, because I knew what I was going to say. As soon as she's like, when did your life turn upside down? Okay, 3, 2, 1. Move. Having kids.
I expected the kids to come out as soon as you started talking.
Well, I was going to say, I think there was a big life change with where you guys chose to go. Is that what you were about to say, Andy?
Yeah, I think moving here was certainly, and maybe Compass deep down, like that name tied into how I was feeling, right? Because I almost felt a little bit directionless too. Our plan was to move back to Pittsburgh. That was our original plan. We had some different things come up. My dad has a practice there. So we were like, oh, we're going to walk into this practice and it's going to fly easy, right? Like, here it is, boom, right? And some different circumstances, right, led to different situations. And it was about a month before graduation, we were like, we're moving to Montana. All of our stuff was already in Pittsburgh. That was what our plan was. And
definitely rug pulled out from under us unexpectedly.
Yeah, I mean, different situations led to us being here. And then when I moved here, coming from a city, I was like, oh my gosh.
Shell shocked to live in the country.
I was like, what am I doing here? Like, we moved here in, I think it was February, and there was like 8 feet of snow outside, and it's dark all the time, and there was no like place to walk to. And it was really hard. And one of the big things that I'm not going to lie, there was a lot of fear that sat with me for different reasons, in the sense of how are we going to build this massive clinic that I always envisioned, right? I always wanted to be a high volume clinic. Like my goal then was I want to see 1,000 people a week. That doesn't align where I'm at right now. And that's not my goal anymore. But I was really concerned of like, how can we build what we need to build in a town of 7,000 people with, at that time, there was like 14 chiropractors, and there's more now, right? So that alarmed me a lot. That was a big shakeup and a really big change. But knowing that I had a partner that I really depended on, and I was like, hey, I know that Kailey, like, she's who I trust more than anybody. If there's anyone that can do this, we can do it. But there was a lot of pushback. Like our mentors at the time told us, do not do that. They were like, absolutely do not open there, right? We had family members that were like, that's not a good idea. You're never going to be successful. When we moved to this town, other chiropractors literally took us out to lunch and they were like, you will never make it here. We have a crazy story. We were associates for a very brief amount of time and had all these ideas, how to build this clinic and this dream that we wanted to, like working with this individual. And he sat across the desk from us and looked at us and said, these ideas will never work. You could open up across the street and you'll never be as good as me. Mm-hmm. So we did. Like, honestly, we practice probably less than a half a mile away, but it was just one of those things that there was a lot of friction at that time for me specifically.
I think in any moment in your life, like you asked, Marisa, when things become unexpected and your direction changes really quickly, or there's an uncertainty in where you're going to be moving next, there is a lot of power for us in our relationship and looking at each other. And for people who are business owners but not with their spouse, it's really that confidence in yourself or the trust and belief in yourself of what you can do and what you're capable of. And I think it just doubles down when you work with your spouse, because on days when it's hard for you to believe in yourself, you have somebody who you trust more than anybody else and that who knows you in a way that they can see when it's harder for you, and they sort of step up and they speak into you this life and this, encouragement that no matter what, no matter where you are or how difficult it is, things are going to be okay. Because at the end of the day, if everything else was gone, at least there's us, and we trust in ourselves to build what we envision. So when you really get with yourself or with your spouse, whoever you're working with, and you believe, if you truly believe that you're heading in a direction together, then it starts to build itself out of nothing, which is a crazy thing. And was the first time that happened to us. And I would say the second is when we were like building, we kind of reached some of our goals, and then we threw kids and our family in the mix, and we both became like, instead of just business owners and individuals, now we're like parents, and our relationship dynamic changed, the way we show up as business owners changed, and even our goals and vision for our life changed. And so it's sort of like seeded itself in all the different things we were doing. And there was another shift there where we had to look at each other and be like, where are we going and how are we going to make this work now?
I think that's so important, what you said about trust, faith, and belief, because I see it a lot when people have so much fear behind the decisions they make. It really seems to come from a deep place of truly not having faith in themselves, the trust to say, even if I go down this path and it's not turning out the way I expected or the way that I was intending, do I still have trust that I can be resourceful, that I can make a pivot, that I have the power to make a change around my circumstance? Because sometimes we cling so much to the fear of like wanting it to have a specific outcome or wanting it to look a certain way. If it doesn't, maybe it looks better, maybe it looks different, but can you know that you have the tools to either have help guide you in a different direction, or that you can do that in yourself? And I think that fear is something that we can cling to. And for you guys, with your whole story and even just the little nugget drop of maybe some stuff going on too with Pittsburgh and family, like, were there things that you felt like you had to release that maybe you were clinging to in that journey and path to be able to move forward in the face of everyone else providing you that friction like you were talking about?
Yeah, I think every entrepreneur can relate to having naysayers as they're trying to build something. And that's almost a part of being an entrepreneur, is how you emotionally step over those hurdles and maintain the momentum that you have to carry yourself. I almost think that that's sort of part of the superpower of being an entrepreneur, is that you do have to carry that confidence, but you have to create it yourself. And it's such a strange thing. But coming up against all of that friction, I think it is fear, definitely, that you have to let go of, and you have to embrace uncertainty. You have to embrace failure. Like uncertainty and failure are maybe the biggest things of businesses as you're moving forward. Like that's always there. Every decision you make, you're going, well, I'm not sure what's going to happen next, and it might turn out to be horrible, but you kind of just have to take that step forward anyway. And in the beginning, it's much more difficult to take those steps because there's like financial concerns, and not that those go away, but I think the fear of uncertainty and the fear of failure are two of the biggest hurdles that you have to overcome, especially when there are people speaking into you in the early stages of business. Like, that's not going to work. And how do you know if it's going to work? Like, they're putting all these little planting seeds in your brain that make you think it's not. And you have to sit with yourself, right? And go, how do I believe that I can make this work? And even though people are telling me it won't, like if you're really rooted in, like, I can do work every day to make this happen. And even though it might not, like you said, Marisa, happen exactly as the way I envision it or on that path, it's going to happen because I know that I believe in myself to make this happen. So I think it's just that.
And I think that you need to be very cognizant as those things come up, to not allow the verbalization of the thoughts of other to identify you, right? You can't be having those outward expressions against you, or those roadblocks or those mountains you have to climb, be identifiers for your life. And it's okay if we do it naturally. You know what I mean? We're going to take on some of that. Like, there's times where like, man, I don't know if I can do this. Like, you have that self-doubt, and allowing yourself to shed that identity that's been put on you. Mm-hmm. So constantly being able to change that identity as you go through different phases of whether it's practice or marriage or parenting or whatever, and being cognizant of that you're the only person that can really identify yourself.
What would you say would be, because I know what my journey's been like to really navigate the identity. We're kind of going a little deeper, which is awesome. So I'd love to invite you guys into this a little bit, because you talked about like your center, having understanding of like who you are. But if you were really inviting somebody to dance in that space of understanding their identity outside of the noise and outside of the fear, the negative, the labels that people put on us, the masks that we may carry, what would it be, or what would the invitation be that you would tell people to say, like, this is what's going to help you get back to your identity, to understand more of who you are outside of all of that? Because like we can say it's like you have to know your identity, but then it's like, well, what is your identity? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I think that is a real problem, that a lot of people don't know their identity, right? That they can't even define who they are because of all of the outside noise. And think of this, like when you meet somebody and you ask them like, oh, who are you? They're like, oh, I'm Andy, like I'm like I'm a chiropractor. Like, that's not it. There's so much superficial of just like, we're afraid to express vulnerability. And I think a lot of time that we're afraid to express vulnerability because we don't even know what we should or shouldn't be vulnerable about, because we lose ourselves in the woods a lot, right? So I think honestly doing like a self audit, or things that I've gone through a lot of being able to say, okay, authentically, this is who I am. This is my belief system. This is my vision. I don't let other people be able to determine that, and really sitting down with it and quieting the noise. And being able to look like, okay, I feel this way because this person said this at some point, but that's not who I am. Mm-hmm. And it's a lot of internal work. It's a lot of heart work, right? Let's bring that back. It's us looking at ourselves and being like, okay, why do I feel this way? One of the big things that I've done in the last couple of years is when I feel a certain way, I'm like, instead of just being like, oh, I'm mad, like that sucks. Why do I feel mad? How can I relate this to a time that I felt before? What happened at that point, right? And then you start to build this chain of these emotions or these identities in certain situations of being like, oh, here's the history line here. When did this start? How can I address it? Maybe it doesn't even need fixed, but like, how can I be more cognizant of this is where I came from to where I am now?
Yeah, it's like an awareness of feeling. Even when we're coaching with couples right now, like one of the big shifts for my identity as becoming a mom is like I worked, entrepreneur, business owner, success, everything on my own time. And then all of a sudden nothing is on your own time. And it was really hard to just be like, okay, well, what do I do now? What I found myself, people would be like, Kailey, like, what do you need? What do you want? I'm like, I don't even know what I need. I'm just giving myself to my kids and my business and my spouse. Like I couldn't speak for myself at all. And over the last 4 years, it has really become something that when I tell other people, like when you're trying to figure out what it is you want, 2 or 3 things I found really helped me come back to my identity was talking out loud to nothing. So like this would either be journaling or voice recording, just like letting your thoughts ramble and just listening to yourself talk about how you feel about things that happened in your day or frustrating things. And I use Chat GPT for this all the time, but just like talking into the like voice recording thoughts that I have and letting it spit back ideas to me helps me actually formulate how I felt. And it kicks back some like self awareness that I couldn't get tangibly because I truly didn't feel like I had space to have my own thoughts. So when I was like trying to refigure out my identity, a lot of it was, like Andy said, coming back to like, how did that actually make me feel? What am I feeling about this? What was it that happened that made me feel that way? And you start to see these patterns of these things make me feel really good. And this excites me. And this, I like positive emotions about this. And these things make me feel kind of bad and crummy and not excited. And then all of a sudden you start going, oh, I love working out, or I love how I feel so proud of myself when I show up with my kids like this, or that was the best high vibe day in my office I've had in forever. But you start actually analyzing those moments, and then all of a sudden you have a voice again, and you're doing the things that make you feel good, and you finish them going like, I'm so proud of my day. I felt really great. And then you can create more of that. And then your voice kind of comes back out again. But you sort of have to speak it out and name it and create clarity to figure out what your identity is again. And if you're not doing that, people ask you and you just kind of go, I don't know, because you're really not spending any time working on it.
Yeah, it's almost the fear of identifying the trigger. Like Andy, you're talking about just understanding like the past of like, okay, yes, I have this human emotion, right? Like, and that's the human condition, is the fact that we can have this vast experience of feelings and thoughts and ideas. And sometimes they're really just that. It's a feeling that bubbles up, but sometimes it does have a history. Sometimes it didn't even start with us, right? Sometimes it was something that we accumulated, inherited, took ownership of. And for you, Kailey, of like trying to figure out how to get back to what that looks like for you, I think this is especially challenging in service-based entrepreneurs and service-based business owners, because you're literally in a profession where day in and day out, you are giving of yourself for someone else's benefit. And a lot of people can tie their self-worth to, one, the outcome of that, but also to the fact that they are the one that's giving of it. And so you are giving out to all these different, and then you become a parent and you're giving to your kids, and you've got family and a spouse and you're giving to them. It is just that cycle that we hear so much about, of like, you're pouring from a cup that's not being poured back into, but we don't always know how to figure out what we actually want to pour into ourselves.
The hardest thing is like, people ask you, what do you want? And you're like, I don't actually know what I want. You kind of like freeze up. And then the same, like people ask you like, who are you? What is your identity? Like we all freeze up because the answer to the question isn't a label, right? It's sort of like, I'm a person who, or this, like the question is always phrased differently than you want to answer it. But
Finding
yeah, it takes some deep work.
truth, not because of what they give you in the sense of, again, self-worth, but literally just give you self-joy.
Yeah. When I started spending more time focusing on how I felt showing up like the version of me that shows up for my kids when I can spend time with my kids that is like focused on them and I'm involved in whatever play, I'm letting them lead the way and I'm not distracted. I'm truly having fun in the moment. I'm so proud of that moment. And I love that moment. But I also know that I don't get those moments if they're 7 hours long. Like I've, like I love being a present, focused, fun mom, but I can't do it for 7 hours straight. And so in figuring that out, I'm like, I have a good like 30 minutes, maybe an hour of that time before I need a break. But that's how I started building a rhythm that I can be a present, like focused, fun mom. And I can also be other things. And I don't have to be that one thing all the time. And so when you start kind of like, I also love showing up my business and creating momentum and leading other people. And I really enjoy having conversation that helps other people find clarity in this. And so you start like feeling proud about things you do or excitement towards them. And when you lean into those paths, you start discovering like, oh, I like coaching people. I like being a present mom. I like being an entrepreneur and a business owner. And all of a sudden you're like, oh, there's my identity back because these things make me happy. Like I also love reading and ice cream. And so it's like you sort of figure out who you are along the way if you give yourself the time to do it.
And I do think that, especially, I'm going to speak to men, and I know that women feel this way too, but being so respectful of yourself without consequence, meaning like I'm going to really project who I am as an individual without fear of judgment from other people, even understanding that there will be, but being okay that not everyone is going to be for you. I always say, like, if we speak in like chiropractic terms, chiropractic's for everybody. I am not, and I'm totally cool with that. So just being able to have that vulnerability to say like, oh, I feel this, or this is what's going on. And you're doing it for yourself and not for somebody else. That will really start to move you into a direction where that becomes easier and easier and easier, right? Acknowledging, because I do think that is almost like a tie into innate intelligence of like, this is like, this voice is important.
Mm-hmm.
And if we quiet that voice, it only becomes more subtle. Like the more you listen to it, the louder it gets. And the more you express it, the louder it gets. So there's that universal intelligence of things coming to you. And then that innate intelligence of what is happening, that inner voice, right? And if you dismiss it, you're going to get less of both. So I think that it is extremely important to be able to respect yourself enough to the point where you don't fear consequence of judgment from others.
That's good, Chills. That was so good.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, do we dive right into like the recent pop culture reference and the viral meme of Taylor Swift talking about how like you have to think of your time and your energy as like a luxury item, and not everyone has invested the capital to be able to like for you to care about what they're saying. I think this is so important, especially because if you do give into that, that's another way you can dim what is actually coming to you and from you from that beautiful organic place, because it is convoluted with noise for sure.
Totally. 1,000%.
Andy, I'm curious because I've known this from my husband, and I know Maurice and I both have husbands that are emotionally diving into places, but that's not always men. And I'm sure you navigate that and like with just coaching and all that type of stuff. But like how, like what you're talking about and what we're inviting people into is something that can be incredibly terrifying. Like not only just in the side of like, not only just for men and for women, but there's something so freaking attractive of a man that actually can be vulnerable and be emotionally intelligent in that capacity. And I think that whether that's culturally or like Marisa alluded to in the beginning, some of this stuff has been just put on us from generations that we just aren't given a voice, or our parents never gave us the option to have a voice. I know that's something that both myself and my husband have had to navigate, of like your voice was just completely like shut down for so long. So how do you know how to communicate? How would you encourage, like, obviously you talked about the like respect of yourself, but if it's whether a counselor, or like how would you start to invite not only just everybody, but men specifically, to really start to dance in that space?
Yeah. I'm gonna speak for myself in this situation because I don't want to speak to other men and their situations or whatever's going on. A way that I feel like you talked about like having a voice, especially through like childhood and different types of traumas and things that happen there. And I'm not a trauma expert, so I can only speak to my situations. I think that I did have a voice. I don't put blame on any generation or anything in front of me. I think everyone is just doing the best they can, and they learn behavior from other generations. So anything that happened to me, it's my story. It's not about anybody else, right? Like that's the first thing I think. Some people might agree with that. Some people may not. That's the direction that I choose. I do believe the most important thing is, this is such a crazy thing to say, but like men having friends, right? And we are taught a lot to be tough. And I love that. Like I want my son to be tough. Like he falls on the bike and I'm like, dude, we're good. Brush it off. We're good. If you cry though, it's not like stop crying. It's, hey, it's cool. I cry sometimes. You know what I mean? It happens. Like I think it's a really healthy thing. So being able to teach that dynamic in a different way, but then as we become into adulthood, and especially in my situation now, I really believe that friendship is something that a lot of guys don't have. And you guys know me outside of here. Like I like to have a good time. Like I'm all about it. Like let's have fun. I like to do all of the things. But for a lot of men, I think that it's really challenging to put themselves in that room or like meet new guy friends. It's so strange. Like when you're in your 30s to be like, just meet a guy. Like, what do you do? Like, how do you do that? You know, I have no idea. You know, I'm blessed that I know a lot of people in the community. So you're able to just put yourself out there and start to build those relationships. But like for what I do a lot of different things. Like for my internal work, I do a lot of meditation. I do a ton of visualization. Like exercise is a really good thing for me. I'm part of a men's group. There's lots of different men's groups out there. There's a lot of online men's group. I do therapy. I think that that's an extremely important thing for me. I value other people's aspects. One of the things that I have realized is a lot of my sight has been linear, and the more people I bring into the story or some of the struggles that I have going on, it turns from a very like scope-based, sight-based to like a kaleidoscope. And for me to see those different experiences and live almost through someone else's perspective about my perspective, I like that. I think it's a really healthy thing. So I think that there's a lot of things that men specifically can do, but I do think it comes back to not thinking it's weird. Like we get in our heads like, this is weird. Like, what am I going to do? Like, do I hang out with that random guy? Like, yeah, why not? Like, what's going to happen? Two things, you really like them or not like them. Those are like, that's the situation that will happen, you know? So just putting yourself out there and being more open and then knowing it's okay to talk about it. Yeah. Like, it's okay. We've been told for so long that's like, hey, we just bury this down. We push it down. We put others first. And that's a giving heart. And I think that that's an okay thing. But if you're not the most important person in your story, you will never be able to show up for everyone else around you. And that's where a lot of men come into a problem because they want to be tough and they want to push through and they want to be a provider and they want to be all the things. And then at the end of the day, there is nothing left for them and they have nowhere to turn to.
So good.
And this isn't speaking for men, but what I'll say as someone who's married to a man who does this work is the byproduct of him getting to take the time to dive in on working on his like emotions or his feelings and building this is that he develops a stronger self identity. And so he has more confidence, and confidence is sexy as hell. And so when you're talking about attractive men, they're almost always like, you know, they're confident. They know what they want. They don't fear speaking that out. But a man who has not spent time figuring out who they are and what they want doesn't have that. And so it seeps out of their pores of men who work on this stuff, and whether they want to or not, it attracts women. So if men are like, I don't want to be all floofy and talk about my feelings, it's okay to do that in a circle with your buddies and a glass of whiskey. Like, we're not telling women, and the world isn't telling you to like go be a soft emotional man out there. It's just that doing that type of work is about you figuring out who you are and what you want, and then feeling comfortable and confident speaking that out and moving your life in that direction. And it helps you show up as a better individual, a better husband, a better dad. And that's only going to bring your wife wanting more of you, because it's super hot to watch your husband be like, I know what I want and it's you, or it's this life we've chosen together. And like, that is a big draw, I think, too.
Kailey, I was just about to say that, because you have someone that's not going there. There's no depth to the person behind the facade.
Right.
Like, you have someone who can be emotionally intelligent. Doesn't mean they need to express it in a specific way. But again, it's that self-understanding and awareness to have boundary around, I know what I want, I know what I can give, I know where I am, and I know who I want along and beside me. And that leadership also, like, maybe we can start to get into a little more of how you continue to help other couples navigate these dynamics, especially when they're in business together, because it really is, again, so incredibly attractive, in the same way that a strong man who knows himself also is attracted to a woman who has capacity to know herself too, and to bring that into the dynamic of the relationship.
I would say that, like, emotional certainty, like for women, for strong business women like me, feeling emotionally secure in my relationship allows me to let my guards down and be vulnerable with my spouse and be a more feminine energy when I tend to bring more of a masculine energy. But it's hard for me to drop masculine energy if I don't feel like I can. And like, I want a spouse who, you know, will take care of me when I'm having low moments. And if he isn't feeling confident and like he can step up and be that for me, like, it just goes in a circle and a cycle.
Well, men think that this is a real problem. And I think this is a big issue. Like, men think doing the work, that means they have a weakness. They're like, if I have to do this work, I have a weakness. But really what it is it makes you really strong. Mm-hmm. Like, you can do all that work and be a strong ass mother effer. Mm-hmm. Like, that's how it works. Right. So like, just having them know that. And then when we work with different couples, a lot of the time this is my transition through this. I felt like that a lot, like, especially at Palmer, like in school, you know, like Marisa, we used to like work out, played rugby, do all this stuff. And like, when I started the business, I was just so nose to the grindstone that I lost a lot of a part of myself. So then I've had to work to get it back. So and that comes into the identity shifting again, right? You're almost like playing into these shadows of yourself that you didn't even know that came out. But being able to help people realize that it doesn't need to stay like that, because lots of guys specifically, and I'm never going to speak for women, but like lots of guys specifically, they get in this mindset. They're like, they wake up one day and they're like, what the heck happened the last year? Right? Like, where am I? Why do I feel this way? Why am I drained? Why am I exhausted? Why don't I have any friends? Like, that can happen so fast when you're an entrepreneur and you're just like into the business. We start to neglect ourselves and we put the business first, because in the beginning we're working for the business instead of letting the business work for us. Mm-hmm. And it just completely wipes us. Mm-hmm. Right? So doing the work is really cool. And I love talking to guys about this, because it's like, all right, how do we pull it out? Like, how do we change the mind shift? How do we change like our perspective? How do we get that to the point where we are confident enough in ourselves that we're able to ask the universe for what we want? And then that's where manifestation happens. And manifestation's tied in universal intelligence. So like, going back to that, just being able to have the ability to say, you know what, I am worth it and we can do better and my goals will be hit and it is coming towards me. And I'm totally cool with that, because I'm confident in the way I feel. I'm vulnerable about the way I feel. And the more I am of that, the more I put it out, the more it's going to come back. And just having that realization.
Mm-hmm. So it's a rhythm of flow. Like you said, like, it has to come out of you, but you're also going to receive it back at the same time, which is so beautiful. Feeling momentum. Okay, so let's use that. We're going to tie that now. Marisa kind of alluded to it a little bit. I'm curious, like, as you start to, not only you've built this chiropractic practice, you've navigated your own relational journey, and what it's taken to be healthy humans individually, then in a partnership, and now being able to invite people to be able to dance in that same space. So when you are starting to invite other Chiro couples or just even entrepreneur couples to join in on a partnership that's sometimes not only just for their business, but for alignment for the relationship to then help their business thrive. What's one of the first things that you really start to navigate them through and invite them through to be able to help them see that, yes, your business isn't really important, but your relationship is so important? At least that's what my brain is like. You're going to the relationship so that your business can thrive, right? So, so what's some of that you first start to invite them into?
I think the like first realization that most couples or entrepreneur couples that we work with have is that they are reaching a point that they've realized they've been spending most of their time working on building their business, and their marriage has kind of fallen to the wayside, and they're starting to lose their intimate and emotional connection. It's starting to feel like harder and more like work at home, a little bit more arguments, and they're great business partners. And it's not like they're unhappy in their life. Like they're building, their life looks like success from the outside, but it doesn't feel that great to them on the inside. And they're starting, like what we say in our coaching a lot is just being stuck on business mode with your spouse. And they're trying to shake off this feeling of like, I'm married to my business partner, and get back to that like intimate, fun, spontaneous connection they used to have without resentment and guilt. And it's like most couples we work with are just like, they maybe are starting to see it and recognize it. They know change is needed, but they're like, how do we shake this? How do we get out of it without losing our business and our money and our marriage along the way? So I feel like that's the first shift.
I feel like entrepreneurs that work together, they're just both so like, we want to be successful so much, we'll sacrifice everything. And then over a point of time, you start to bring the boardroom into the bedroom, and then like you're not even in the bedroom anymore. And you start to lose what it felt like to be able to like date your spouse. Like realistically, you lose that emotional connection, especially when you're in the same business and you're just so focused on that because you want to be successful that you start to put the other parts of you on the back burner because success is what matters. So we can have what we want later. Like it's always like we're working towards this goal, but if you're not taking care of the things that are right now, when you get to the goal, there's not going to be anything left.
Right. Like you can work on your business, you can grow, but whenever you arrive at, that place that you think it is, if you don't have the reason that you built all of that for waiting for you at the end, then what did you build it all for? And so when we're inviting people to work with us, it's generally because they have lost a little bit of the vision and the reason behind why they're actually working so hard. And we need to sort of acquaint them really with that original relationship and the excitement they had when they got together to build a dream and a vision, and sort of restore that connection that it didn't go away. Like you're not wrong for each other or drifting apart. It's just that you really haven't taken any time to come and make a plan to come back together. And so a lot of it is like action steps on people just forget to make a new vision and to start figuring out as you've changed your whole identity, going from not a business owner to a business owner is one, and then a parent, not a parent to a parent. Like these are huge identity shifts. And sometimes we forget to just go back and be like, hey, who are you? What do you like now? And what should we do with the rest of our lives? It looks kind of different than it did 3 years ago. And we just get so wrapped up in money and success of our business and our impact and the perception others have in our life. We sort of forget to have fun and just go back and explore that connection again, because most couples we work with, it's definitely still there. They just haven't spent any time prioritizing it, and we just have to kind of like help them navigate how to get back to that, which is really what Chiro Couples is all about.
I think that too, like we can almost trick ourselves into thinking that we are working on the relationship because we're working on something that is hopefully going to bring success funds back to help with the stability of like the marriage and the family unit, or like we're working for something, we want a bigger house, we're working for something, we want to save money for kids. And so we dive into those goals. And so it's like, well, of course I care about the family. Of course I care about my spouse. That's why I'm working so damn hard. That's why I'm pulling in extra hours. That's why I'm going to do these things on the weekend. I need to see more people. I need to bring in more whatever it is, right? But again, it's like, quality time is not sitting with your spouse on the couch doing individual things.
You're making your life a reward for your business.
Yeah.
When you do that, you're like, oh, when my business achieves, my life gets rewarded instead of the other way around.
Yeah. You're like creating goals to feel like connection rather than just having some.
So many couples we work with, when they're stuck in business mode, they describe to us how they essentially create work and problems to have something to relate on and solve, because they feel connected when they're solving a problem or when they're working towards some kind of financial gain that results in a life win. But that really isn't like filling their soul cup. It's just a task that they can complete to go like, shoot, we did that. Good for us. High five.
And it's dangerous because what happens when you get the new house? You're like, what's next? Now what do we do? It's the same thing like in clinic or like in business. When you hit a dollar amount, you're like, oh, that's cool. What's now?
Mm-hmm.
Right? So yeah, you need to be like, I hate this word, but content. you need to be like content with where you're at right now and knowing like, hey, if I got nothing else, everything's still awesome.
Mm-hmm.
Ask them to like tease our audience with some a specific practical tool that they could like use. That's what.
Yeah. Well, one we give to most people right away is our 2-2-3 rule, which is that the people need to start taking time off and actually treating their calendar like their life has to go before their business. And so if they start taking
a date night every 2 weeks,
2 months,
every 2 months you take a weekend, then every 3 months you take a week.
So if they start, like most people feel kind of awkward about it's like it's been a while since they connected with their spouse in just kind of like a fun way. But if they're taking time and actually putting on their calendar, you wouldn't believe how many couples we work with who don't even remember the last time they went on a date night or took a full weekend or a week off, like away from their kids, away from their current environment. And so we almost make that mandatory in the beginning for people to be like, hey, if you really do want to start feeling like your life is going in the direction you want, and the reason you're building all these things in this business is not just like your life a reward. If we want to start getting your life and your business working for it, we have to actually start prioritizing your life first. And so we have them start actually putting on their calendar and planning ahead, just like you would for a business thing, but we start making their life the tasks. And so if we have date nights planned, if we have moments away from the regular schedule planned, if we know we're looking forward to a vacation or a trip, we start to get excited about that and we start rebuilding that connection a little bit. And so it's a really easy thing to implement because you can plan ahead for it. We have almost everyone do that. It's like just one really easy step, that starting to treat your calendar with your life events as non-negotiables, honestly, and putting it on there and going, date night is this night and it's planned ahead. There's no decision fatigue. There's no guilt. There's no whatever. Like that's what people really are struggling with. And so when we are teaching them or coaching them on how to restore connection in their marriage, it really has to come from a place of starting to prioritize their life instead of their business and flipping that around.
So you mentioned the contentment aspect, and because I also know you guys, you like to also move fast in a lot of ways when we make decisions. So
the longer it takes to make decisions, the less likelihood you're going to make.
Well,
yeah.
So talk to us a little bit about that, like, because you can 100%. I definitely agree with you, Andy, like in the place of like, all we have is this present moment, right? We can't get 5 years ahead of time. We can have objectives and have goals, but we can't get there tomorrow or even in this moment. All we have is in this present moment, and we can have rest and contentment because we know who we are, going back to the identity factor, right? We'll also be able to have this rhythm and balance about wanting to experience life and flow and do some big shit, and like, because we may have desires, we may have dreams and all that type of stuff. So when, not only just for you guys, well, how have you navigated that, but also how would you invite other people to navigate that? Like, I would imagine inner turmoil of like, okay, cool, I want to move here really fast, but all I can do is be content in this moment.
Here's what I think. When I used to take a very long time to make decisions, and that has changed a lot recently. And every time I have a decision that I need to make, I think of this, someone told me this, that imagine that you're in a silo. Like the big farm silo, it's really dark, right? You can't see anything, but you're holding onto a rope. You don't know how far down it is. And we're so afraid to let go of that rope because we don't want to fall, right? We're afraid to make the decision because we don't want to fail. But you finally get the courage and you let go of the rope. But instead of falling, you actually float up. So that's how I think about decisions. Like, I know that there will be some that aren't great. There will be many more that are really good. But the longer that I take to decide, the longer it will take me to correct if it isn't the right one.
And yeah, I would go ahead.
I just sit in that confidence that, like, hey, we're comfortable with ourselves. We're confident in ourselves. We're going to make a decision and it's going to work. And if it's not going to work, guess what? We just get to make another decision. It's not a huge deal.
I would argue, Sarah, that the more satisfaction you have in your current life, the more content you feel, the easier it is for you to make decisions. Because if you're really stoked on how things are right now, the decision is like, well, it's either going to stay how it is, which I really love, or it's probably going to change it. Like, the more content and satisfaction you feel for the now, the easier it is to make a decision. And then on the flip side of that, like, the harder and the more time you spend like weighing out how to, the good and the bad about making a decision, the more negative it builds into your content. You start worrying about the future, you start thinking about the repercussions, and it starts to seep into that satisfaction you feel, and you second guess it, you analyze it, you talk to too many people when you could have just had a decision and the effect, good or bad, already happened. And so it's sort of like not being afraid of the outcome, but like on top of that, like, to me, the amount of decisions we make in a day is leading to a fatigue that everyone feels. I don't care if you're married, I don't care if you own a business, it doesn't matter. Like, everyone is exhausted by decisions right now. And just like the longer it takes to make them, we just feel this fatigue, and it builds this like frustration. I know in our marriage, like, decision fatigue is high. And so, like, we have a hard time deciding what to eat for dinner sometimes because simply no one wants to decide. And it's just like letting go of the repercussion from the decision and just acting. It makes everything just feel easier. It helps with satisfaction and contentment in your life because you just let go of like whatever's going to happen, the result of the decision, and just be like,
it's all going to be good.
Go ahead. And if it's not, if you make a decision and it's not exactly how you want it to go, you have to kind of come to that knowing, like, when you make decision, you're like, well, if it's bad, it's bad. And you have to, like, if you accept that ahead of time, you already know what the outcome is. Like, a lot of times we're making a decision, we're like, well, the worst case scenario is this, and we're already okay with that. So let's just make the decision, and the worst that can happen is what we're already expecting.
And I think, like, in a partnership, we have an agreement. If I make a decision and it doesn't work, we don't get to hold judgment. Like, there's no judgment there. Like, you want to make a decision and it's a bad decision. I made tons of them. I'm not going to get mad about it. Let's figure out how to just move forward. Like, you know what I mean? We just need to step forward. There's no purpose of looking at the failure aspect of it. Like, it's not going to do anything.
Yeah, that obviously applies to like the day-to-day stuff, but it's sort of like those are the ones people spend the longest time. They're like, oh, should we get this new service in our business? And, like, they're weighing it and going back and forth. And it's like, well, if you would have decided, you would have just implemented it and it either worked or didn't. And you would be making money from it or not. And you'd be offloading it at this point. Like, hiring someone, it works or it doesn't. It comes and it goes. And you never know what the results of the decision is going to be until you make it. And so you just have to sort of lean into the decision and let the results come. And you can always make another decision that's going to influence that direction after. If you make a bad decision, you're just going to make another one to cut that out and do something different. I'd say hiring people is like a one big thing that a lot of people, when we're coaching with people, they're needing more time for themselves. They're wanting to grow their business, and bringing people onto their team after they realize, like, I want more time. I'm starting to implement this 2-2-3 rule. I realize I need help. I need support. And they're hesitating to bring support in, whether it's nanny and childcare, whether it's help in their business. They don't know if they can afford it. And what they forget is, like, bringing in support and help is going to create like that dance and that ripple of creating more time for them. So it sort of like levels you to the next level. And I would say making that decision to get support and help is a really big piece of getting back more time so you can figure out your identity and how you want to pour back into your life.
Yeah, I mean, even I'm dancing in this right now because hiring my first associate was exciting but scary, right? And I hired her part-time because I had ideas of who was coming in full-time this fall, and then it didn't work out. So here I'm hiring full-time and we want someone in by October, but I think I almost kicked myself because I was like, okay, cool. Like, we don't have to hire right now. Like, we can spend the next 3 months, like, really interviewing people and finding that first fit. It's going to be the first next doctor that's going to be there full time with me, right? Like, it's not just I have, my Dr. C there on Mondays and Thursdays. Like, this is someone else that's going to be in our ecosystem, but not just as like a team member, as a full-fledged colleague, doctor, like equal in that sense of providing care and care management in cases, etc. And so lately I've been reflecting on my speed with that. And if I have actually sabotaged just making a decision with someone that had reached out a couple months ago when I had initially thought about it, and the universe was like, bloop, here you go, have it, and just take it, versus saying, well, I don't know, or like, are they really that motivated, or is this the best fit? And you can get yourself in that kind of cycle of doubt, which then you can mask as like safety and just trying to like take it slow to make a conscious and intentional decision, when in fact you may have cut yourself off at the knees.
There's something too about making a decision quickly and then seeing how you feel about it, because I think we make decisions and then right away after the decision is made, you're either like pretty excited about the fact that you did it, or you're thinking like, oh, that was a bad choice. Like, your innate, I think, comes out pretty quickly when you've committed to making a choice. And if we really listen to that after we made the decision, we can act pretty quickly against, like, don't be afraid to change your mind, right? Like, if you say yes to something and you immediately have a bad feeling about it, then I think we just have to remember, like, it's okay to be like, and maybe that wasn't the right thing. And
you're allowed to rate goals. Like, if you bring somebody on your team that, even if you felt like to go get fit, this happened to us this year. Like, I brought somebody on. I was like, we're going to be able to grow together. I'm going to really be able to bring this person up. And it didn't work. And I'm like, man, that was a bad decision. And he was like, yeah, this didn't work at all. Mm-hmm. And we're like, all right, well, see ya. Yeah. You know what I mean? Like, you're allowed to just be like, that didn't work. Yeah. And like, oftentimes they know. They're like, yeah, it's definitely not working.
If you're feeling it, most likely other people are too.
That's what it is. Like, what can you say?
Why do we take stuff so freaking seriously sometimes?
It's a lot. I feel like some of it's just because it's fear of what other people are going to think of you, or like how it's going to impact someone other than you. Like, we spend so much time worrying about the perception other people have of us, or how it's going to impact somebody else other than ourselves. And so we just we let those thoughts slow down our decision making, because we're not really just asking ourselves.
I think a lot of it is like, we come from a place where we didn't have what we have right now, and if we mess up, it's all going away. Yeah. And it is it's not all gonna go away. People make bad decisions all the time, and it's okay to change your mind. It's okay to be like, nah, that didn't work.
The best things in life, even though in the moment when they happen, they never feel this way, but the things that teach you the most and that you gain the most knowledge from almost always are bad decisions. But especially as entrepreneurs, you can't afford not to take them. You have to take risk. You have to move forward, because even the bad decisions are often the things that they give you the most clarity and the most understanding about what's next for you. And so just even acknowledging that can help you make a decision, because you go like, either way, I'm going to learn from this and it's either going to be really good, or I'm going to learn what exactly I don't want. And how, like, after an associate situation like that, like, we knew what we were looking for the next time. We knew what we didn't want. We knew, like, we had so much more clarity, and the next hire was even better because we just went through that dance faster, differently.
One of my favorite quotes is, experience is the best teacher, though the most expensive.
Yeah. Yeah. But money keeps coming, right? Like, you work, you make more of it. And if you believe in yourself, like, it's going to come. We can all find a way to make more money tomorrow if we had to. Right. And so being afraid of losing out on a little bit of money to make a decision is not worth it, in my opinion.
Oh, yeah. And I think in the context of that quote too, like the expense can just transcend much more than the financial aspect, right? We could expend, it could be at the expense of relationships. It could be at the expense of friendships we thought were going to be on the train with us forever. It could be at the expense of experiences, location, family. Like there's so many things that we and to have an experience. But again, the person that shows up into that next experience is so much richer for what they have gone through.
Totally. This is like faith, right? Exactly what Andrew was talking about. Letting go of that rope and believing that you will ascend instead of fall. Like that is faith, and making sure that when you make decisions, you are open to the idea that it could potentially be an expansion and an ascension, much more likelihood than it ever would be that you fall.
It's a beautiful expression of trust, faith, it's this uncertainty of the unknown that we're not in control of it, but we just get to participate and put one foot in front of the other and make a decision and trust that regardless that we're going to be taken care of to a certain degree.
You will. Yeah. You're either going to learn or you're going to grow. So
we just can't take it all so serious.
Yeah, for sure. We like to do that, though, at least ours for society. And I feel like the quote unquote American dream, we like to do that because it's always about the next thing. Like we've talked about a lot in this episode already. Like,
materialist. Yeah.
Yeah, for sure. So as we kind of get close to wrapping up a little bit, you guys, again, you built a successful, beautiful chiropractic practice, and you're doing coaching, you're coaching couples to really navigate the spaces we've talked about today. What is something that you feel like you're dreaming right now that both feels really exciting and also very scary?
I don't know. We might just open a couple more offices maybe pretty soon. We're all
dreaming.
I hate to say this, but this is kind of like our thing. Like I do think a lot of people look at us and they're like, you guys are nuts. But a lot of our patients are just like, what, are you guys okay in the head? Like, what's happened? Because we'll just get an idea and we're like, let's do it.
Yeah, let's do that.
Right? We were talking earlier, like, Sarah, we were out when you were visiting, we were out to dinner, and I was like, we should just live in this neighborhood. And then we listed our house for sale 2 days later. So I think that one of the big things that we're looking at right now, we are still continuing to grow and expand Chiro Couples. We're having a lot of fun with that. I really, really enjoy it. Just like I love conversation, just like I know you guys do. And we've talked a lot, right, about different things. And that really, really excites me. But at the same time, I'm in a tug of war because I want to keep expanding Compass, especially in our state. Montana, there's a need for really good chiropractic. Mm-hmm. So I see a really awesome avenue, and I love mentoring and helping docs be able to do that. So that will be coming.
We're definitely
approved.
Yeah,
we're being to it all.
We have opportunities to expand Compass and our brick and mortar chiropractic business in the state, which is more than we ever dreamed of, at least when we first started our business. So we already have 2 locations. We're looking at expanding beyond the valley that we're currently working in, but we're also feeling called and excited about working more vulnerably with coaching. And so I think it feels scary to build something so different than what our first business was, because it's just unknown and it's unexpected, and the type of success, we can't really lean on the strategies that we used in our first business to build the second one, because it's completely different working in coaching. The way you engage with people online versus having, employees in a brick and mortar, so different. And so it's nerve-wracking and it's scary, but it's so exciting that we kind of just keep coming back to we just feel excited about this, and it feels good, and the opportunity is presenting itself. So we're having fun with it. And that is what's really driving it forward, is just knowing at the end of the day, it's exciting and it's fun, and we're just going to keep leaning that direction, really.
Yeah. When people ask why are you doing all these things? It's simple. It's because it's fun. Mm-hmm. We love it. We have fun doing it. Mm-hmm. And when it starts to not be fun, we probably just will find something different, or we wouldn't expand if it wasn't a fun thing.
We really trust
really what we love is it fills us up to do it.
Yeah.
Not to be selfish about it, but we get to see the impact, and that's a fun thing. And it's just all about having fun and having joy.
Yeah.
That's really what it is.
Seeing us getting to have conversation and giving guidance to other couples who were where we were, and seeing how it is shaping in their life and changing it, and the restoration that they're getting in their marriage, the confidence, their business is growing. It's so cool to get to think that we're, planting seeds in other communities beyond our own, right? Circle back to connected, right? And building this connection with other couples in different parts of the world who are restoring their marriage and growing their business as a result and making more impact in their communities. Like, it's wild to think that eventually, if this keeps growing, when it keeps growing, that we'll have been able to plant seeds in not just physically our area, but in other areas too, because we're helping other people grow their business. It's super cool.
It's neat because it's more like Compass has given you the authority in a way. Like chiropractic obviously doesn't mean it only has to land in the lane of chiropractic. But that's been this like thing for me a little bit. Sometimes it's like, I want to do this over here, but it's like I don't have to release one to do the other. I think like we can do it, like you can be a part of all of it because one is giving you such a beautiful reputation and allowing you to have impact within your community, potential future state locations, all that type of stuff. So it's really neat.
I think that we all, we're all docs on here. And the reason we got into chiropractic, it's really just because we wanted to make a difference. Like, we like making a difference. We like seeing and not necessarily, and I won't speak for you, but I'll speak for me. Like, I don't get my jazz in chiropractic being like, look at the curve change, man. This is that's not me. I like the difference in the stories. Mm-hmm. The stories are what really impactful for me. And that's what I really care about. Mm-hmm. So the more avenues that we have to change stories for the better, I want to take advantage of them because it makes me really happy.
Mm. This has been awesome, you guys. Thank you so much for honoring us with your time today. Tell us, or tell our audience, how people can actually connect with you. They want to follow through.
Yeah, we are coaching online. Our chiropractic business is Compass Chiropractic. You can find us on Instagram. It's probably the first place most people would get to us. But Chiro Couples, it's at Chiro Couples. On Instagram as well. You can find us there. That's where we spend most of our time talking about the coaching side of things. We have some events and opportunities coming up at the end of August. I'm hosting a Realigned event, which is for entrepreneurial women trying to regain their identity. And so it's an online webinar. It's about an hour. So you can find that. Link is in our DM on Chiro Couples Instagram. And then our next coaching challenge is also going to be coming up after that. We don't have the exact date set, but it'll be this fall. It's going to be our 8-week coaching program. So people can look for details on there of what's coming up. It's a little bit more intensive, like small group coaching, basically. And so really good opportunity to dive in on a lot of the things we talked about on today's podcast.
Perfect. We will definitely add that all to the show notes so people can get access to it and come find you swiftly and quickly. So thank you guys again so much for joining us.
Awesome, you guys. Thank you so much.
Mm-hmm. So thank you for joining us on another episode of the Heartwork podcast. We hope today's conversation has inspired you to lead with heart in your business and life.
If you enjoyed this, subscribe so you never miss a release, rate our show, leave us a review, get on our VIP email list, and join our exclusive Facebook group, The Heartwork Life, to plug into our community and learn from us and other heart-led entrepreneurs on a weekly basis.
We look forward to chatting with you next time.
Bye!